Hey stream. Hey stream, what's up? So today we're gonna dive into this lizard people conspiracy. I've been watching these videos on and off, but I stumble across, I don't know if it's good or bad, because when your YouTube homepage start putting these things in the search page, you might be descending too deep into the craziness. But anyway, I'm gonna check out this video. I have no idea what it's about, but it's titled Ancient Civilizations, Multiple Dimensions, Aliens, and Time with 19 Keys and Billy Garson. Wow. I I mean, if you saw this title to a video, what would you think this is about? I mean, I don't know who's Billy Garson. I can think I was confusing him with Ben Garson, so maybe that's why the topic seemed off to me on the title. But anyway, here we go. Let's check it out.
Understand is that time really doesn't exist. Clocks exist. Time
Let's
doesn't
see what
exist.
this.
Right.
And like you said, we've been given this functional
Okay,
arrow of
featuring
time,
Billy
which puts us in
Garson,
one
is the
specific direction
founder of
so that we
Forbidden
can
Knowledge
organize our thoughts
Incorporated,
and our days and our years and weeks and what we're going to do and where we're
best-selling
going to meet up
author
with somebody and
of
everything else.
the
So we have this
Compendium of
ability
Emerald
to
Tablets.
coordinate and
And book
collaborate with
doesn't
each
mean
other
broke.
like how we're here today at this specific
Okay,
time. However,
still ain't
if
getting
you
what we about to talk.
understand
Okay,
that
this
time
episode
is
goes high
also an
level into
illusion,
the
it's something that you can use as
conversation
a
of our
tool. But if
understanding
you
of
also understand that
time
it's an
versus
illusion,
ancient
then you can
civilizations.
actually master time and you can maximize what you're doing on this planet.
Okay, Billy.
19 keys and
It's
this is
giving
high level conversation.
Scientology, but I'm not
Tap
gonna
in
say.
with the guys.
I ain't judge.
Peace, family. Welcome back to another high level conversation. Today we
Wow.
have a powerful presentation, a very powerful energy, spirit, man,
I'm
guide,
curious. I
scholar,
wasn't expecting him
polymath,
to,
intellectual, executive, actor,
have that
producer,
vibe.
author, you understand me, TV host, academia, a man really whom those who have seen needs no
I
introduction.
like it.
You understand me? A
Urban.
very
Okay.
extraterrestrial intellect. You understand
Nice
me? A person that
dressing.
can dive
Nice
in
dresser.
multi-dimensional areas. You
Snazzy.
understand me? And
Swaggy.
a person that I don't have to hold back with whatsoever. You understand me? This is a man who has, secured funding to build underground cities in Georgia. You understand me? A person who is a two-time best-selling author. You understand me? Of Woke Doesn't Mean Broke and of the Emerald Tablets, and also the founder of Forbidden Knowledge. You may have seen him on the Travel Channel. You may have seen him on the History Channel. You understand me? You may have seen him in another dimension when you just happen to be popping some shrooms or something and traveling through somewhere, and Billy Carson was right there floating next to you, giving you some guide. You understand me? This
I
is a
know, right?
powerful brother. Not only is he found things here on Earth, but he's actually found things out in space. You understand me?
Wow.
And we're going to dive deep into exactly what that means. So
Yes,
today, I want
please.
to introduce you to none other than the most powerful, prolific brother known as Mr. Billy Carson.
Hey, thank you, man. Appreciate
I
you
Welcome.
having
wonder
me
if
on.
these
Thank you for the
symbols
Absolutely.
great
on his
introduction.
heart have
Absolutely,
some
man.
significance, or that just
I
happen to
make
be the
sure I
print.
have very um, intelligent people, you understand me, who require a great introduction,
Yeah.
you understand me. For those, of course, like I said, who know you, you don't require any introduction. You understand me? You are a man, a great platform, you understand me, that stands on his own merit based on the knowledge that you possess, research, investigate, and deliver to the masses.
Thanks, man.
These
Today, man, I want to
bottles
have
are
a
on his
roundabout
table.
conversation about multitude of
Selling
different
some oil.
subjects here at High Level Conversations. I like to have an actual cipher,
Healing
you
oils,
understand me,
eh?
where we
Right.
build and we collide and
Spices.
create new universes, you understand me, a university of thoughts. And first thing I wanted to talk about was time itself,
Yeah.
you know, and the ideas of time. There's a lot of people that's trapped into increments of time that they have to work in, you understand me, from a 9 to 5 position, and they have to live within windows of hours and dissect their days based on that.
Yeah.
You
True.
understand me? And the unfortunate reality of it is that most people will never have a true understanding of life
Hmm.
because they're living on borrowed time.
Yeah.
You understand me? And so I'm always working to help present
So,
perspective and observation on where
Hmm.
people can
how are you
understand the
not
laws
on
of
borrowed
time a
time?
little more. You
Right.
understand me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially as we enter into fourth and fifth dimensional phases here, you understand me, on this planet Earth. You understand me? Or
Yeah.
the universe, as
Yeah.
we will. You know,
Mm.
human beings, are we very interesting, beings.
Yeah.
You understand me? Like, just the idea that we allow someone else to decide what time is for us is a very interesting thing,
Yeah.
right? From Julius Caesar to the Roman Pope with his papal bulls deciding,
Hmm.
what is
Yeah.
a 365 calendar, what is talking about 7 day.
Interesting premise, but I mean, s- as part of the social contract of society, I guess, somebody got together and decided these rules. True, I don't know who or why. I don't know if it makes sense. I mean, how we count time. That actually is if you watch The Foundation on Apple TV, that is an argument that Gail raised season one when the foundation was first going to Terminus, I think, to set up. And they were, having their various discussions on what they will save, what pieces of civilization they will save and pass on or whatever. And she's like, well, however many different parts of the galaxy counts primes or basic numbers differently. So how are you going to decide whose approach is better or who's right or wrong or what survives? I mean, it seems like a small thing, but I mean, it's deep. I guess it's historically disregard for other person's cultures or philosophies or ideology has gotten us into problems. I mean, I don't know, but I don't know what that has to do with the multiverse yet, but I hear what you have to say, bro.
Weeks
Yeah.
and 60 seconds and 60 minutes. And
Hmm.
we say, okay,
I agree.
let's
Yeah.
go along with it,
Yeah.
you know? And we don't realize that it speeds up, you understand me, the process from being born to when you leave this place,
Yeah.
you know? And then we already have expectations on what life is going to be because
Yeah.
there's other people that tell us what it is, when we're going to die, when we get old, when we're
Hmm.
going to feel a certain way. So
Yeah.
it sets up a curation for us to die a certain way and
Yeah.
at a certain speed.
Hmm.
Can for I want to hear what your interpretation of what time
Yeah.
is first.
Yeah. Well, this is a very deep, deep question. I've talked about this so many times in different
So many times, huh?
lectures and workshops. Because for people in the third dimension, we're in the third dimension. What we tend to not understand is that time really doesn't exist. Clocks exist.
Mm,
Time doesn't exist.
right.
And like you said, we've been given this functional arrow.
Let me Google right quick. What is the third dimension? Let's see what the wiki gotta say. Okay, they're giving me a geographical. Um, okay, maybe I should ask them if an object has a It has depth in addition to the influence and it's not flat. Okay, yes. Okay, I think the question I need to ask Google is where is third? Uh, okay. Fractionalenlightenment.com. Yeah, my dude. About to be crazy. Okay, when talking about such as third dimensional reality, ascending into fifth dimensional consciousness, raising your vibration. In order to better understand how dimensions work and what it means to be living in the third, fourth, or fifth dimension, we must think of a dimension as a point of perception rather than an actual place to travel to. Okay, point of perception. Okay, but rather their way of perceiving it is different. Okay, this is existentialism. By seeing beings this way, it gives us a better understanding of how we can identify what dimension we are most resonating with. Interesting word, resonating. Perceiving, resonating. Hmm. Sounds like I gotta do some work to get there, to the third dimension. Okay. Okay, so I could be divided. What does that mean? Am I mentally, psychologically, dimensionally, I don't know if that's a word, dimensions and what? Okay, so my beliefs could be in the third, but I could have other aspects in the fourth or fifth. Consciousness, okay. Um, the physical birds born in a cage thinks flying isn't enough. Hmm, okay. The love that grows within begins to translate into compassion and understanding for the external world. Okay, so it seems like consciousness, but I don't know what the end is. And I guess that's the trick with all these new modern religions. Um, like the traditional Christianity. Okay, I know the end is life everlasting on there is no end. What am I what what is does this path of dimensional for dimensional consciousness? What am I doing? What am I maybe I don't need to know, but what am I seeking? Just to be loved or to exude love or to be a love child, a flower power. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, back to the video. I'm
of
interested.
time,
I'm
which
curious
puts
what
us
they
in one
got going
specific
on here.
direction so that we can organize our thoughts and
But
our
this the
days and
type
our
of
years and
stuff
weeks and what we're going to do and where we're going to meet up with somebody and
when your
everything else.
parents
So we have this
hear you watching
ability to
this in the
coordinate
room,
and
they think
collaborate with
you
each
you
other
wed.
like how we're here today at this specific time.
Yeah, cut
However,
that. What's that?
if you understand that time is also an illusion, it's something that you can use as a tool, but if you also understand that it's an illusion, then you can actually master time and you can maximize what you're doing on this planet. Because if you go any high in all the higher dimensions,
If
we're
time
in
is
the
an
third, fourth,
illusion,
fifth, sixth, and
So
all the way up.
for the
Time is
what does
layman
that
that don't
mean? That we are
understand
rushing
what being in the third
ourselves
dimension
to what?
means, can you
Is
give
it
us a
just to
breakdown?
serve
okay. Sure.
capitalism,
So if you
make
draw a
them
line
work
on a
for
piece of
title,
paper,
get a
that's the
cycle?
first
I don't know
dimension.
what it is.
If you then connect those lines and create a house on a piece of paper, that's a two-dimensional structure, or
2023
you can move
is
that into a
flying
computer.
by though,
Anything
so
you
I
see
don't
in a
know. I
computer
hope
that
it's
looks
an
3D
illusion.
is actually 2D. All right,
That's
so,
crazy.
and because we're in the third, we can see down into 2D, we can see all the way down, obviously, into 1D, and we can manipulate those dimensions from our higher selves. Now, if now there are beings in fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensions, there's people above us. Now, because of that, they see us and they recognize the past, present, and future operating all at the same time. Everything's happening at once.
Right.
There is no separation between the past, present, and the future. The arrow doesn't exist. Because they're higher than us, they can look down into the third and they can see into what we're doing. So,
So who are before? Because
yeah.
we gotta unpack a little bit. We gotta unpack.
Okay.
It's high level, but I want
Yeah.
to make sure that the
They
people
follow.
can follow along with it.
Yeah.
So talking about third dimension, right? It say ants are not third dimensional beings, right? Because they can't see upward, right? They're not horizontal. You understand me? They exist on a plane where they're looking forward, right? So when you're moving about the rest of the world that is higher up to them, they have no access to that, no perspective on that whatsoever. You understand me? For them, everything is straight and in front of them. For human beings, we have the ability to look upward, to look inward, to look outward, to look around,
Yeah.
right? So therefore, we're connected into different angles, different perspectives, and different dimensions.
Yeah.
You understand me? And then what I wanted to get though with next though, so let's say we got the third dimension, right? Now we're talking about the fourth dimension, right? What is the fourth dimension?
The fourth dimension is something called a tesseract.
Mm-hmm.
Not
And
the
if you go into the
Tesseract.
ancient text, it's Metatron's cube. Meta, M-E-T-A, meta. Obviously,
Yeah,
the
meta.
metaverse, right? They got that from Metatron's cube. It's a fourth dimensional substructure. Now, this fourth dimension is really something called a quasi-crystal. And this quasi-crystal in the fourth dimension, it casts a shadow. And the
These
shadow that
niggas
it
say they got
casts,
the Tesseract.
it creates the realm that we're living in here. We're living in a shadow of a higher dimension. That shadow creates a third dimension. It actually creates a fractal of it, creates this fractal holographic matrix that we're actually maneuvering in the third dimension right now.
So would the fourth dimension be considered a dimension of time?
You can address a fourth dimension of time, like Albert Einstein was saying, if you're just looking at a third plus a fourth being the arrow. But when you actually move up into another dimension, we now know in quantum physics that there is actually a fourth dimension. So all dimensions are in 90-degree angles of each other. And according to quantum theory right now, we're really anticipating that there's at least 11 dimensions, or otherwise the universe would collapse. So there really is truly a fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, all the way up. Not just the arrow of time. That's just something extra. They try to make it make sense back then by saying the fourth dimension is time, but time is actually not a dimension at all.
So now that's a very interesting, because it's a lot that I'm sure that everybody's like, all right, I thought I was smart,
I didn't see.
and then I tried to keep up,
Yeah.
and then I got left behind.
Right.
You understand me? And what I want to bring people up to speed. You understand me? And the ideas in correlation to the analogy of how we're moving as a collective human species, specifically with technology, right?
Yeah.
Because I think it can be connected to, cellular technology, right? Going from 3G to 4G. And, going from 3G to 4G to 5G, which allows us to be able to do different things that we normally weren't able to do that weren't possible,
Yeah.
right? Let's say you got 3G phones, it's hell, you make better, faster calls, you understand me, connected. Then you get to 4G and you're talking about now applications and streaming, right? and Wi-Fi,
Mm-hmm.
right? Being able to connect within systems and the
Yeah.
Internet of Things, and then 5G allowing completely new systems of possibility. And this was where I think a lot of people missed the point in 2020 where everybody was going through the craze on
Yeah.
whether 5G was killing them or not. It was more so what was 5G going to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the NFTs and the Web3, right? And you're talking about, AR, VR, spatial reality, all these
Yeah.
different things are not possible unless you have 5G
Yeah.
being in connection. So it was representing a new world being produced outward.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just an accident that NFTs came after the pandemic and
Right.
this technology
Yeah.
came after. There was something happening at that same point in time that
Mm-hmm.
for me it was entering into a new phase of the world, a new dimension, a new speed,
Yeah.
right? And that speed, can be known as time, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of
Wow.
people without that ability to process at a high level, right?
Yeah.
Like you got bandwidth, you got landline speed, you got
Yeah.
Wi-Fi speed, you got
Mm-hmm.
5G speed, you get left behind.
Yeah.
So everything seems that it's moving fast, but that's
You know,
only because you're not
5G.
moving as fast.
Right.
Everything stands still when you're moving at the same
Yes, it
speed.
Yeah.
exists,
You
but
understand me? And so what I've always tried to do is keep people up to speed
that's
where we
what.
at in the
Right.
dimension that we're currently in, or a little bit above so you can be ahead of your time as a visionary.
Yeah.
Because the fastest speed is the mind.
Mm-hmm.
You understand me? Being able to travel in your thought,
Yeah.
right? That can travel you, that can take you into time, that can take you ahead of time, if you will.
Oh yeah.
But the ideas of time itself, I love the concept that it being an illusion because, even the era where time is connected to language,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That I wrote in my book about how when we speak in the English language,
Mm-hmm.
it's a very future tense reference,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we're always referencing the future as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
I will be there. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And we have so many different phrases within the language. We're always pushing ourselves, not connecting to the present,
Yeah.
but at a later point in day and time.
Right.
You understand me? And I think that learning to be
True.
present connects us to the power that we have in control over.
Yeah.
And then once you have that power, then you know how to create seeds that can control the rest of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But you said something about beings,
Yeah.
right? Now, we always look at ourselves as people, but then when we talk about people, you're talking about human beings,
Yeah.
right? The being part is not something that the average person understands,
Yeah.
right? And then when you're saying that there are other beings,
Yeah.
who are these other beings?
I believe personally, just based off of my research, and I've gone through now over 1,000 scriptures, texts, papyruses, cuneiform tablets from all over the world. They all have a very similar story, and all these ancient civilizations talk about beings, not just beings who came here from other planets, people that look
Wow.
like us and we
Yeah.
look like them. In other words, not identical but very similar. In other words, a bilateral, bipedal hominid of some type that can maneuver around, that has appendages that can manipulate the environment, because without that, you can't move out into space and other places. And they also talk about multidimensional. You get into like the non-commodity and stuff like that. You're talking about multidimensional beings. And so in physics, in quantum physics in particular, they started theorizing on these dimensions and were able to even analyze and discover some that they actually do exist. And on top of that, they realized that the dimensions are stacked, so packed so tight on top of one another that if you can phase shift your atomic structure, your subatomic frequency, you can walk right into another dimension. And so they started postulating, what if beings from higher dimensions are some of these apparitions and these paranormal phenomena that we're seeing, are they able to maybe take a glimpse or a peek? Are they phasing through into our universe? And so from higher dimensions. And so they started really theorizing it. It seems to be, and based on my research, that there's people living everywhere. Not just, and I'm not talking about little green men with antenna. I think that there's people living all throughout this universe in the third dimension, and I think there's people living all throughout even higher multiple dimensions, maybe at a certain level, a certain height in those dimensions. Maybe they don't have a real corporeal body,
Right,
but
non-physical, yeah.
non-physical, you know what I'm saying? But I believe that the consciousness is there.
Then that part is interesting, the non-physical aspect, because I understand that and I can believe in that idea and that concept. It's like what people think. I think of angels as angles,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Because angels are supposed to exist in between dimensions.
Yeah,
You understand me? And angles,
Angels.
you understand me, are dimensions,
that's right.
right? And so it's like perspective
So what is an angel?
is your angle in which you see things and
Yep.
view things. And oftentimes angels come and gives us new perspective, new thoughts. You understand me?
Yeah.
Arriving from a different, completely dimension of thought that we couldn't arrive at ourselves.
Correct.
You know, but at the same time, when you're talking about non-corporeal bodies or non-physical bodies, you understand me? I like that concept because when you're talking about time, talking about light, you're talking about all of these different ways in which
I wonder if he
light
is a
or energy
Christian.
can exist within, and
Right.
consciousness, right?
Not that you have to,
The
but I'm just
awareness of,
curious
you
as to
know, output. You understand? Mathematical
his
output,
view on this,
right?
on
Do you believe
corporeal or
that the universe is
non-corporeal
mathematical?
bodies.
Oh, absolutely.
What is his views
The
on the
language of God is mathematics, because mathematics
philosophy
can
of
literally
life after
explain
death
everything that we experience,
in
and
the
everything also that exists. Even the
Western
fact that we're existing in a light matrix can be proven
Christian
through
tradition
mathematics. So we're living in a matrix that's basically written on
matrix.
mathematics called adinkra.
Okay, I get these are also scientific, established scientific words that exist outside the cultures, I guess. But it's interesting to me how, okay, he says these words and it triggers certain things. Okay, you say matrix, you begin to, of course, you think of the movie and this idea that what you see is not real and you don't know. So how do I know? You know, so it's
Codes.
still like,
And these adinkra codes go all the way
I
back
don't know.
to the
You choose to
Dogons.
believe it's
Dogon
because
tribes
you
out of
choose
Mali,
to believe
Yeah.
Africa.
it.
They actually originated
Anything,
these
I guess,
codes, and they were
whatever it
given these
is.
codes
So
by the
how do you
Nomo,
decide
and
what
they
is
learned them.
truth,
They drew them out
knowledge,
as
and
art forms.
understanding?
But now, and they put them on clothing and blankets and everything else.
So
And
the
that the
Dogon
third
tribe, very interesting
dimension
Yeah.
tribe,
is
you know, that was able to discover,
faulty or
systems before telescopes and things of that
not
nature.
Yeah.
real or
So how
something.
did they arrive to be able to, because I know a lot of people, I posted about this
Yeah.
not too long ago, people want to understand how the
Yeah.
hell did the Dogon tribe arrive to it,
Yeah.
right? You know,
Let me pause that for a second.
It is doubtlessly one of the strangest locations in the
Okay, yeah.
entire world.
I came
It is a
across
roughly
this.
500-acre
wanted to check
ranch
this out too.
located in a remote part of Uinta County in northeastern Utah. In 1994, the Sherman family
Skinwalker
purchased the
Ranch.
property with the intention of living a simple, private, quiet life. The ranch seemed perfect for this lifestyle. They couldn't have known how wrong they would be. The Shermans would live here for just under 2 years, until they could no longer endure it. In that time, they would claim to have not one, nor even just a handful, but dozens, perhaps over 100 unexplainable experiences. When they finally went public with their story, the whole world turned their eyes to this remote area of the country, and the Sherman Ranch would be given the name by which it is better known today,
The Sherman
Skinwalker Ranch.
Skinwalker.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Wow.
hello and welcome to Fire of Learning. This is the Campfire Series. Join us as we tell the full, actual story of what happened at Skinwalker Ranch. Before we begin, I would like to thank Joachim, Marnie de Ryder, Verbach, Sherry Cartwright, Bleh, Emily Clark, Bill Allen, Rodney Ron, Ariel Jardiel, Stephen Turner, WT Expletive Saurus, Ann Washburn, Terp Ninjas, Arya Medani, Sid Leone, Will, Robert Merovingian, and Avanthia Eleni for being my most recent supporters on Patreon. They join these
Patreon.
supporters listed here who help to make these videos possible. Today, it's quite clear there is an interest in the area. Fencing, security cameras, blocked off roads, and no trespassing signs surround the property, making it explicitly clear that the area is off limits to the general public. It was not like that whatsoever when Terry and Gwen Sherman purchased the property and moved in with their children in the autumn of 1994. What we will now discuss is the standard account of the events that would take place on this ranch in the 2 years the Shermans lived on it and the years after, in which the area was officially investigated, many of the details of which were originally brought to the public in the famous 2005 book, Hunt for the Skinwalker. Science Confronts the Unexplained at a Remote Ranch in Utah by Dr. Colum A. Kelleher and George Knapp. The Shermans purchased the ranch with the intention of raising their 2 children, a teenage son and a 10-year-old daughter, and cattle on it. Terry was an experienced cattle rancher, and the area seemed suitable for the needs of raising the quality cattle for which he was known. The prior owners of the property, Kenneth and Edith Myers, had owned it since the 1930s. Because the property had been vacant for years before the Shermans acquired it, it was a neglected fixer-upper. But the Shermans felt up to this task. As soon as the Shermans had begun moving in, however, they began to notice strange things about the property. Firstly, there had been an unexplained clause in the contract requiring them to contact the Myers family for permission to dig on the property. Secondly, when they arrived, it is said they found the home itself had been practically fortified, as if the Myers were expecting some kind of intrusion. The doors and windows had been bolted shut, with metal bars placed in the windows as well. There were also chains on each side of the house, which were assumed to have once been used to hold guard dogs. However, the Shermans chalked these unusual features up to the old couple just being a little bit eccentric. The family moved in and began to settle down into their new lives. It was not long after that the first incident occurred. One day, the Sherman couple, their 2 children, and Terry's father noticed a dog-like animal in the distance, approaching the ranch. From about 400 yards away, they could tell it was really quite large, probably a wolf. At about 50 yards away, it paused and stared the family down for a moment, then slowly approached them. The wolf did not seem to hesitate whatsoever, which suggested to them that it was possibly tame, maybe even someone's pet. As it came closer, they were better able to make out its features. This was no ordinary wolf. The wolf, it was said, came up to the chests of the 2 6-foot-tall men present. It was intimidatingly muscular, with gray fur and piercing blue eyes. Though a strong feeling of unease came over Terry as it came right up to his family, the wolf still appeared completely tame. They even pet the beast.
Well,
Within
if
a
a
split
wolf
second,
go at
however,
us,
the wolf turned and rapidly darted towards the corral that held Terry's calves. It attacked a curious calf who had stood too close to the gate. Terry and his father rushed to attack the beast and save their calf, but their blows failed to deter the
it was
creature in
probably
the
hungry.
slightest.
Well,
Terry
I
called to
don't
his
think
son to
this
bring
first
him his gun,
incident
a Colt
is a
.357
sign
Magnum
of
pistol.
alien activity
This
yet.
is where a tense and strange situation became a horror story. He shot the creature at point-blank range, but the bullet had little more effect on the wolf than did the blows of the 2 men.
Now
The
you saying
beast did not
creature
simply
because a
withstand
wolf.
it. It seemed unconcerned by it altogether. Terry shot the animal twice more. It released the calf and slowly walked away, then turned and faced the family. It stood there, staring them down, still showing no signs of having been harmed. Terry shot again, and it walked back about 30 more feet but remained staring at the family. Terry called to his son to bring him his .30-06, a rifle which he used for elk hunting. Even with this greater firepower, however, when he shot at the creature, though it was claimed he heard the bullet hit the wolf from only about 40 feet away, it, again, had seemingly no effect. He fired again, this time it is claimed visibly removing flesh from the wolf. Still, it seemed indifferent. At this point, the wolf turned and paced away from the area. To say those present were shocked is an understatement. Terry felt it best to pursue this threat, however, and try to finish it. He and his son followed the beast, but it was moving quickly. They saw it disappear into the trees before they could reach it. However, they were able to follow its tracks. They followed them for about a mile, until the tracks disappeared.
I'm not seeing why the wolf is
This
a
made no
sign of
sense.
alien
The ground
activity.
on which the tracks disappeared was soft, as soft as the ground on which there were tracks. They could find no explanation as to why the tracks would have abruptly stopped, but abruptly stopped they had. As the sun set and their search for signs of the wolf yielded nothing, Terry decided it would be best to return home. Lacking the ability to answer the many questions they had, Terry felt it best to try to forget the incident. In the following weeks, there would be more sightings of not just this wolf or one like it, but other odd canines as well, though these incidents weren't quite as intense. They were generally just sightings. Eventually, the Shermans would stop seeing these mystery canines for a while. However, this did not mean normalcy returned to their lives. Unfortunately, this incident was only the first of a series of incidents that would confuse, disturb, and threaten the family during the 2 years they owned the property. Soon, the wolves would be
But they
replaced
bought
by
it
a great many other
out
forms of
in
strangeness. The family
Untamed
began to
Country.
notice things going missing
I'm not
on the
convinced
ranch,
yet.
and
I
not
need to
just
see
trivial
that
or small things. For
nope
example,
type
Carrie would
activity.
leave
I
an
need to
area
see
for
the
a few
sky
minutes and come
open
back to
up. I need
find
to see an
heavy, large
octopus
ranch equipment missing,
stick
such
his
as a
hand
70-pound
out the
post digger.
cloud.
Some of the objects, like the post digger, were eventually found. The trouble was, finding them
Let's see what they got
sometimes
to say.
only added to the mystery. For example, the post digger was allegedly found 20 feet up in a tree. Sometime later, there was another major incident. Their first encounter with a phenomenon that would haunt them much more consistently. Strange lights, and the crafts to which they were occasionally said to have belonged. One evening, as night fell,
Okay,
Harry,
lights.
his son, and his nephew noticed lights on his land in the distance. A white headlight and red taillight, probably an RV. Assuming they were trespassers, he was determined to drive them off. However,
Maybe that's why
as
the
the three
aliens
began
coming in
walking in the
here.
direction of the lights silently moved away from them. As they increased their
Preach.
pace and drew closer, the
Digital
lights
age,
suddenly
pre-artifacts,
rose
man. They
about
probably just
50
like,
feet in the air.
they ain't got no tech,
They
they
could
ain't
better
gonna
see
catch
the
us.
outline of the vehicle now. It was an object shaped more like a refrigerator than an RV. The group froze, watching as the object flew off into the night sky, disappearing from sight. It was becoming clearer that the Shermans were not just the victims of random oddities that happened across their paths by coincidence, but that there was, perhaps, something unusual about the ranch itself. Indeed, as time passed, they would come to learn that not only was the Uinta Basin regarded as an area in which unusual happenings weren't so unusual, but that the land on which they lived itself may have had a close connection to this strangeness. Some regarded part of it as cursed. Oftentimes, when a scary story is said to have precedence in Native American folklore, it, doesn't, actually. However, in this case, there does seem to be at least some truth to the claim that the people indigenous to the area, the Utes, have historically regarded the area of Skinwalker Ridge, part of which lies on the north of the ranch, as dangerous, supernatural, even cursed, holding a kind of connection to what are called skinwalkers. Skinwalkers are dark figures from the folklore of various southwestern Amerindian groups. The full extent of skinwalker folklore is not well understood outside of these groups. It is often considered a private and uncomfortable subject. However, from the information that these groups have shared, it is known that skinwalkers are sinister figures capable of wielding powerful black magic. They attain these powers through the completion of a number of dark rituals, including the murder of a family member and the consumption of their flesh. In some instances, the skinwalker, in its natural state, resembles a foul, thin husk of a person, with eyes that burn a coal red in the darkness. They are said to possess great strength, speed, and endurance. They are closely connected to dark spirits and can cause illness and curse others. They are capable of entering and corrupting the minds of others, driving them mad, causing them to do terrible things. The most famous of their powers, though, is the ability to shapeshift, often transforming into an animal such as a bear, bird, or wolf. The strange history of the Uinta Basin does not end there. In 1911, an article in The Sun Advocate was published discussing strange noises resembling thunder heard throughout the basin that were reportedly causing settlers unease. Some residents reported hearing them day and night in summer and winter for years. The noise was attributed to layers of rock moving on the Uinta Fault. For years, beginning in the 1950s, residents of Uintah County began reporting what would add up to thousands of UFO sightings, incidents of cattle mutilations, and purported extraterrestrial encounters, alongside a wide variety of other abnormal phenomena like Sasquatches and poltergeist activity. This was especially true in the 1970s, when the rate of UFO and ET incidents increased dramatically. Uintah County became one of the most significant hotspots of unexplained phenomena in the entire country, a position the area retains to this day.
Wow.
Frustrated as these occurrences, and others like them, continued,
Now I wonder how much of them are like verified, have some substance sightings, because
Next invasive
it
species
may
may
become part
already
of the
be here,
folklore.
and it can walk on water.
NBC2's Evan Dean found out why
The
researchers are
town,
being proactive now with this reptile with a biblical name.
See him over there?
Jesus lizard.
There's another one. They're definitely in the woods right there.
Alfredo Furman has one of those.
This have to be South
You know
Florida.
what?
He's trying to bite me right there.
Kind of job.
This is a male green iguana. He's very mad right now.
Of all the animals, all the reptiles in lizard-filled Florida,
Just reel him in like a fish, basically. He's he's about 4 foot. You can say that.
iguanas are the most common catch for this wildlife trapper. How many?
Oh man,
There
I could
are a
say
lot of
thousands.
iguanas in
The green iguana is invasive,
Florida, if you ever
pervasive, a
noticed.
problem. They're
Trust me,
everywhere.
I'm
They
like,
swim like fish. They can climb like monkeys.
Bro.
So you'll spend $1,000 on your flowers,
swamp.
and in 2 days they're gone.
But now there's another non-native lizard
Crap.
experts want you to watch out for.
There you go, folks.
This, the brown basilisk, seen here in Clewiston. UF researchers say they're gaining ground across South Florida.
It has a crest on the top of its head, and then usually a yellow line running down its side.
But they're most well known for their nickname because of what they can do.
We're walking on water. I mean, what do you think?
The Jesus
Yeah.
Oh, the Jesus lizards. They run
Oh.
and they could run on water, basically.
See for yourself. The appropriately nicknamed Jesus Christ lizard is famous for this incredible feat.
It's actually crazy how they do it, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
And they go underneath the water, but they raise them up so quickly, it looks like they're walking on water.
But as impressive as this is, the biblical basilisk isn't from here. It's native to central Mexico, south to Panama. That means there are questions about its potential impact on our environment, our native wildlife, and even on us as their population spreads.
How does it interact with the other parts of that system? And, you know, how do we manage it?
So I'd just die if I
prevent it
come
from
outside and see
being-
that.
becoming a problem.
The lizard likes disturbed areas near fresh water. That's where you'll typically find them. If you do spot one, UF scientists urge you to report it online or through an app.
We've had 43 sightings, I think, in Lee County, and 140 or so in Collier County of the basilisk, which may be only capturing a small amount of the people that are actually seeing it.
Unlike the iguana or the Burmese python, the brown basilisk is not considered invasive. Not yet. The hope is it stays that way.
It's not a big population of them, but who says in 10 years if that's going to be the case?
Reporting local in Lee County, I'm Evan Dean for NBC2.
For a link to
It started like any other weather report.
Who is ready for some sunshine? I know I am. Let's start off with a check of your next weather with meteorologist Alyssa Carlson.
Then this happens.
Alyssa, this really is the calm before the storm.
Not again! No!
Meteorologist
Say
Alyssa
not
Carlson
again.
suddenly collapses during the live 7 a.m. broadcast Saturday on KCAL in Los Angeles. You can see her eyes roll back before she hits the desk.
We're
What?
going to go ahead and go to break right now.
Yeah.
The 46-year-old mom and former Mrs. California posted this update on Facebook. Thanks for all the texts, calls, and well wishes. I am going to be okay. 9 years ago, after getting sick on the
Fine.
air, Alyssa discovered she had a leaky heart valve. But she's now
Wow.
assuring viewers that this fainting episode is unrelated. Thankfully, it's not my heart this time. Thanks for all the kind wishes as I recover from a head injury. I am out of the hospital and doing okay. Lots of sleeping and even some pizza. Thank you, KCAL News. Her station says she'll be back as soon as she's well enough after her
I
scare
had
on
injury.
the air.
We're going to go ahead and go to break right now.
Yeah.
It's a crazy scene outside a bar. The time, 1 a.m. The place, Daytona Beach. Watch as a
What?
woman wearing a thong bikini is seen on surveillance tape holding a baby and taking a swing at a woman recording her on a cell phone. Her friend, also in a skimpy bikini, steps in front and attempts to
Ghetto.
block the crowd. So what triggered the argument? Police say the witness was trying to videotape a truly disturbing incident in which the two women dressed in thong bikinis were seen tossing a baby like a football.
Say thong bikini.
Tossing the baby in the air, and it was aggressive, and it was pretty scary. What can you do? You
What?
can't
Because he
physically
holding the
take the
baby.
baby. You might harm it even more.
One woman was reportedly seen holding
Why
the
who
baby
doing that?
upside down by the ankle. It happened outside the Coyote Ugly bar. One
Why
woman
does
even
baby by the
offered to
bar
hold on
anyway?
to the baby.
Why this rug on the front of the railing?
When cops got there, she explains what is going on.
Terrible. Take everybody to jail.
Store owner Sean Knapp says his security cameras next door captured the action.
It almost looks like the poor child's head hits the rail. Just watching it, it tears your heart apart.
Police said the little boy may have suffered a broken arm. Brianna
Wow.
LaFoe, 19, and Sierra Newell, 20, have been charged with child abuse and battery.
Both women have now
That
been
gotta be
released from
some
custody.
Walter White map there, because that is.
If you've been watching my channel for a while now, you know I like doing deep dives into old school YouTube news blooper videos. Today we're going to be talking about a video that in many ways mimics the Grape Lady video in regards to its origin date, circumstances surrounding it, and viral spread. We're talking about the news reporter turns ghetto in 3 seconds video.
No, you don't get to say.
This video
The
was
news
uploaded to
reporter turns
YouTube back in
ghetto.
2008 and is widely known and recognized by internet users as being one of the first viral news blooper videos on YouTube. But the video itself is actually much older than the upload date would have you believe, with it originating sometime in the mid-90s. Recently I've revisited this clip and I've got some questions that I want answered. I want to know who the man in the clip is. I want to know how this clip from the mid-90s got onto YouTube. And I want to know what happened to the reporter or the man in the video after this clip went viral. Before we get started, I want to thank Honey for sponsoring today's video. Do you like saving money shopping online? Well, Honey helps you do just that. It's a free tool that you download to your computer's internet browser. While you shop online, it scans the internet for coupon codes and other discounts and automatically applies the one with the biggest savings to your card at the checkout. It takes 0 effort to install, just 2 clicks and you can start saving anytime you shop online. It works on over 20,000 sites, from Target to GameStop to Home Depot, you name it. Hey, don't want to have any bugs flying into your mouth this summer like the reporter did? Well, you better have some bug spray and citronella candles on deck. We saved $1.60 on these right here. Not bad. But perhaps you're in the mood for some more substantial savings. Right here, Honey saved $44.10 on this air fryer from Best Buy. That's some pretty substantial savings. Honey, whenever you use one of their coupon codes, they get a commission from the merchant and are able to pass along some of the savings to its members like you and me. It's a win-win situation for all parties involved. So look guys, there's really no reason not to start using Honey today. So go ahead and get Honey for free by clicking the link in the description box. That's joinhoney.com/wavy. And thanks again to Honey for sponsoring the video. So let's get into the story of the reporter that turned ghetto in 3 seconds / the bug in the mouth news report clip. Our story begins in the summer of 1996 in Augusta, Arkansas. The KARK4 local news station sent at the time 24-year-old news reporter Isaiah Carey to Augusta High School to document a special report about the recent on-campus death of a student named Chris Woods. Carey had been in the field reporting for years at this point in his career, having held several different news-related jobs across the Mid-South, and was generally seen as a rising star in the local news hustle. Part of the assignment given to Isaiah Carey by the KARK4 news station on this day was to film a stand-up montage for the Chris Woods story when it would air on live TV. And if you're unfamiliar with the term stand-up in regards to TV reported editorials, stand-ups refer to pre-recorded segments that are spliced into editorial pieces and are often used in nightly news programming. They pretty much add some production value and make the report more eye-catching and more interesting to watch. Once Kerry and his team arrived at the high school, they set up their equipment in front of a fence that enclosed the school's football field and track. It was here during the recording of a stand-up take that a news blooper legend was born.
What really happened on that Thursday here at Augusta High School that led to Chris Woods' death? The fuck is that? Shit! I'm dying in this fucking country-ass fucked up town.
I gotta be honest with you guys. I live in the South and I know all too well the struggles of having a damn beetle or mosquito or yellow jacket, you know, insects just flying all up in your grill. It's not a pleasant experience, and I totally empathize with Mr. Kerry here on this freak out.
Sometimes I need to paraphrase.
He doesn't mind getting off.
Clearer and more concise. There's still.
All jokes aside, let's make one thing clear. This clip was by no means ever aired on live television. Like I said a minute ago, it was filmed for the stand-up piece that was going to be included in the editorial on the nightly news programming. So it never was actually seen by like thousands of people watching the local news. It was recorded on a VHS tape and basically taken as an outtake and thrown in the archives at the KARK4 news station. The bug in the mouth outtake would remain in the KARK4 archives collecting dust for years as Isaiah Carey continued on with his broadcasting career. In 2001, Isaiah Carey would leave KARK4 and move to Houston, Texas, and he would take a new job up at Fox News Houston. And this Fox News Houston job would be where he remained for the foreseeable future. Fast forward to 2008. Isaiah Carey is still working for Fox News Houston and at this point has his own nightly reporting segment called The Isaiah Factor. Things were going well for him career-wise and he had maintained a rather spotless, clean-cut reputation in the industry. However, trouble was brewing. In June of 2008, Carey received a phone call from a friend who worked at a local Houston radio station. The friend informed Carey that someone had uploaded an old video clip of him cursing while reporting the news, and it was going viral on a website called YouTube. At first, Carey thought his friend was joking, but his friend sent over a link to a YouTube video titled "News Reporter Goes Ghetto in 3 Seconds,"